Hello YouTubers. Alright. Got kind of a somewhat instructional video for you. If you've got a Mosin Nagant 9130 or any kind of variant and you want to put the ATI scope mount kit on it, this guy right here, all you need is the supplied tap. See? 10 by 32. You can see I've already got some chunks on this one. You will need the drill bits that they supply you. In this case I do have the bigger one, but this is the smaller one. So I believe it's number 21. Yeah, number 21. And I've also got a 3/16 drill bit, which this will be your spot drilling bit. Okay, you're also going to need the screws that they supply you. Mine actually stripped out, and let me find where I put new ones. I ordered some new ones online. Back there. I ordered some new ones online from gunpartscorp.com. They are a fair bit longer, as you can see, but they are 10 by 32, and I have one hole drilled and tapped already because this was kind of a spur of the moment thing, but as you can see, it's nice and square, goes all the way through with little to no effort. Okay, if you got a drill press, this makes your job so much easier. The first one of these I did on a with a hand drill, and the hole was a little wobbly, which is why the screws stripped out from the first time I did it, which is why I had to buy some extra ones. So I figured I might as well get 2 extras, just, you know, to say that I can do another one if I wanted to. The reason I'm doing it on this here, you can see it's a hex receiver one. I bought another one, and I mentioned something about it in my revolver video, that the bore on this one is pretty much shot out. Basically, it's like 312, so I'm eventually going to take off the barrel and everything and just re-barrel it. The other one I have 2 hex receiver ones, and this one is the one that I'm working on. The other one is going to be kind of just a standard. It's going to stay the way it is, but the action on the other one is just about 5 to 10 degrees, not tightened down far enough. It tilts to the left when you're looking down the rifle. I mean the sights are squared up to it, but basically I'm going to have to tighten it down even more in order to get it to level out, because it bothers me when you look down and you see the action and it's basically tilted like that. Anyway, okay. What you'll need for this, of course, is a drill press. It's the same one from the last video. A drill press vise or mill vise is actually a really good addition to this, especially if you've got a hex receiver and the flats are perfectly perpendicular to the bore. The top is, exactly flat and level with the sights, and it's not canted either way. You can make this work. You just have to shim one side of it if it's not level. But anyway, here's how we go about doing it. First, the first hole you drill, the easiest way to do it is to set your on there. Just a second to mess with this. Okay. Alright. First thing you want to do is you set this on your action, and as you can see, it's pretty much lined up with the front of the action, flat to flat basically. On these it's a little easier because there's rails underneath here that will kind of lock it in place. But the first thing you do is you take your bigger drill bit and you will drill down in there about just enough to get the shoulder of the drill bit on there, just to the edge of the drill bit. That first little shoulder that you see right there, you're just making a divot in it basically. Then you switch your drill bits, and what you do is you drill all the way through, nice and slow, use plenty of cutting fluid. Drill it a couple times. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a drill press and you know how to use it, I'm sure you can figure it out. And then you take out your drill bit and replace it with your tap. But see, the tap they supply you comes with square bits. It's a squared end on the shank. So you're going to want to grip it right in this area, the rounded section of the shank. And then I usually unplug my drill press whenever I do this, but you're just going to use this without power, and the way it looks is you keep turning it, and you give it about half a turn, rotate back, half a turn past that, rotate back a little bit, just breaking the chips. It'll add to the life of these cheap little taps. They're not that good, but I mean it comes with the kit. So it'll work for probably 3 or 4 guns, depending on how fast you do it and if you use lots of cutting oil, which I do. Anyway, when you get that done, you're going to take your first screw, and I know it's not trimmed to length yet, but your first screw, using a properly sized screwdriver, and just drive it down in there all the way. And what this is going to do is act as kind of a clamp. Should have enough clearance in there. Yep, got plenty of clearance. And you just kind of torque it down just a little bit to where it cinches it up, and basically that's not really going anywhere. That's pretty solid, but that will line up your hole in there. It'll line up your second hole. You just want to kind of visually check underneath to make sure that it's not on the edge. You want at least a 1/4 inch or so, or 1/8 of an inch from the back part of the action at the top to the hole, just so it's got enough meat to hold on to it. But I'm going to get this set up in the vise again, and I will be right back. Alrighty. Okay folks, on this, quick note, you're going to want to make sure that you double, triple, and quadruple check your to make sure this is centered. On mine it's a little more difficult because the vise that I got and the drill press that I got are not technically compatible. So I can't just run it like this, with the plate of the drill press. So I have to kind of rig it and spin it, twist it, turn it, whatever. This is how it works out for me. I'm sure there's about 100 different ways to do it. Just make sure you do a few test runs to make sure there's no deflection whatsoever for your drill bit. And make sure you're not bottomed out. I'll probably have to move this up here in a minute, and actually I'll probably have to do that now, because it's, again, only 2 inches of travel on this. So I'll just bring it right up to it. There we go. Alright. Sure you can see that. Okay. I'll show you this process real quick. Just gotta make sure I got some cutting fluid down in there. Get some, run it down the flutes of your drill bit. And then get plenty down in there. And I've got mine set for 1100 RPMs. And it's not the slowest, but it's just below middle. And you want to take note, that dial right there that you see, where it starts to contact, that's how you tell how deep you've gone. You just want to barely go in there. And that's all you need for that. And then take your drill bit out, replace it with the smaller one. And again, replacing with a smaller one might change how it's centered. So you may or may not have to readjust. In this case, I don't have to. Okay, we're going to oil up our drill bit. Put plenty on there, and again, take it nice and slow. Alright, should be good to go there. And what I like to do is, instead of doing it the way that they tell you to do it on the instructions, they tell you to go ahead and thread through here, but if you notice, the thread is actually the same size as the hole in the rail. So you end up threading the rail, and I found that that's kind of a pain. It adds extra wear to your tap, and it also affects how tight you can get it. So you can do one of two things. You can drill out the shank portion of this, the smaller diameter hole in there, to where it won't be touched by the threader, the tap, or you can just take this off, which is what I'm about to do, and I will show you that here in just a second. Okay, so I've taken off the rail, and I'm about to take the drill bit out of the chuck. Okay, and as I said before, throw that far enough in there to where it grips the round part of the shank instead of the square part. And you want to make sure you've got enough travel to be able to get all the way down there. And I'm just a little bit off. And I don't. That's pretty much bottomed out for me. So what I got to do, bring this up, and I like to bring it up to where it's just barely about a 1/4 inch below the tip of the tap. It's going to be a little off. Some fine adjustment here. got it centered up. As you can see, if I had spent just a little bit more money on a good drill press, probably wouldn't have too much of a problem with that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and unplug my drill press, just in case, because if that tap gets caught in there and it's threaded and the drill starts up, then you could be in trouble. But you want to liberally lubricate your tap and the hole. So you want to bring it down to where it just contacts. You don't want to force it. And then you just start turning it in. And then when you start to feel a little bit of tension on it, back it out, quarter turn. A little more. Again, when you feel tension on it, back it out. And you want to keep your hand, your free hand, on the handle of the drill press to make sure it doesn't fly back up and rip out the threads you just did. You just keep rotating just like that. And you'll hear it cut those threads when it comes back. Sounds kind of like a crunching noise. And I got lucky. This is one of the softer actions. If it's anything like a Mauser, if you ever find one that's anything like a Mauser, then you're going to have to anneal it first. Once you get about a third of the way down the tap, it will actually be all the way through the action wall. So you can just run it through all the way as long as there's no friction, like as long as there's no tension to it. I usually run it to where it's to about quarter inch from the end of the teeth on the threads. I'll show you what that looks like. I just like to make sure it's cleared out all the way through. About like that. Okay. Alright. And then you want to keep tension like that way, or however your drill press gets pushed down. You want to keep just take up the slack basically. And you just want to back it out nice and easy. And then every now and then just let up on the handle and make sure you're not pushing too hard on it. Again, these taps aren't exactly the greatest quality, but they'll get you a couple of guns. It'll get you some practice. Unless you break it, which I haven't broken a tap yet. I hear it's a pain to get them out of the hole. You gotta take a punch to it and get it all cleared out of there. And then when you get right here to the end, you want to be careful so you don't break out the first few threads in there. But alright, I'm going to get this cleaned up, and then I'll show you how to shorten up your screws if you got the aftermarket, the long ones, like what I got. So those are way too long. They're sticking like 2/3 of the way into the action. So I'll get these set up to where I can show you how to cut them down, and be right back. Alrighty. There's an easy way to tell how much screw you need for your to fit your stock. You basically want to put it all the way through here, and then you take and measure the thickness of the wall right there, all the way into there, and then you transfer that all the way up. Like the way I do it is I take a piece of tape and I mark it. So like in this case it'll probably be about that much thread sticking out. But sometimes there's a gap between the underside of this, that's my light, like there is in this case. There is a gap, you can see right there. So that's going to add to the thickness of that. So I mean, there's a few ways you can do it. You can actually turn down the screws in a lathe, but I don't have a lathe. You can use your drill press. I am not going to. There's an easy way to do it. And you only need a hacksaw, or if you've got one of these guys here, you can use a cutoff wheel in there. That's actually a pretty effective way to do it. You just buzz it straight off, and then you take it and you bevel the edge just a little bit. And then you take some like 200 grit sandpaper, 220 grit sandpaper, you run it across the edge of it, and you test the fit just to make sure. And when I did fit on mine, I found that the back screw is going to be slightly shorter than the front screw. And you're probably not going to be able to see it on the inside, but you can tell right there, these are the same length screw. And this one's just a hair shorter, about half the thickness of the head of the screw. But basically, you throw it in there like that, and a good way to start is cut off a 1/4 inch, you know, if you got the trim screws. If not, check the screws that they sent you, put them in there all the way, tighten them down, and then look on the underside of the top of the action, right down in here. And actually you can see fairly well. There we go. There we go. You can see the rear screw obviously is way too long, but it threads all the way up, and right there's where I'm going to run it. And the front screw, or sorry, this is the front screw. See if I can get it to focus again. There we go. Rear screw, front screw, sorry, goes there. And the rear screw, you can see, is entirely too long. I'll probably run it right about there. Anyway, that's what it looks like on the inside. As you can tell, way too long. Way too long. So, what I'll do is I will figure out how long I need to make these, and then I'll get right back with you. Alright. So instead of using a hacksaw or a cutoff tool and create all kinds of sparks and all kinds of work, I used bolt cutters and did exactly what they're supposed to do, is cut bolts. In this case, a screw. It's a little choppy on the end, but a little file work will take care of that. Get you zoomed out here and new angle on the camera. I'll show you my little setup here. See if I can see it. There we go. Okay. Basically, crap out of the way. You just want to chuck it up in your vise really tight. If you need to, a little leverage. Combination wrench. Perfect. Alright. I am going to use just a simple, I think it's an 11-inch file, and you just it's a horrifying sound, but it cleans up the screw pretty good. Another way you could do it is use a belt sander. Chuck this up in your drill. In fact, I might do that. I don't have a belt sander, but I do have sandpaper. I mean, that is a proven method. You will get very consistent results. It'll just take longer. You just want to chuck it in there far enough to where it's pretty much centered. And then take you some sandpaper here. I'm going to get a block to put down onto. Take you some sandpaper, wrap it around a block of some sort. Go ahead and throw that in your vise. The tag end here. I'm going to tighten that up pretty good. And then you just hold this with one hand and just keep it moving. So after just a couple minutes of work, it's already pretty close. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut the camera, throw this up in my electric drill. This one's a battery. The battery's pretty much dead in it. I've got to find a charger for it one of these days, but I'll get that chucked up and I'll get back to you. Okay. I took out the power drill, the corded one, and I also used this file, and what I did was basically just leaned it against the table and ran the screw at about a 30-degree angle, just like that in the drill, just on the back ½ inch to an inch of the teeth, because let's face it, nobody uses it, and if you're going to run a portion, it's going to be that portion. Anyway, and then after that, I took it and ran it back on the sandpaper again, but as you can see, it cleaned up pretty nicely. And I'm going to check it for fit real quick. See if it's too long for the rear one, I can use it for the front one. Because once you get one of them set, you can then gauge the other one off of how long that one is and adjust accordingly. And I think this one might be just a hair too long. Yep, about 2.5 threads too long for the rear. If I can get it for the front though, that'd be phenomenal. And it just goes to show how lucky I am. Of course, this would be a lot easier if they were hex head screws, or Allen head screws, I mean. And looks like that dog about hunts. Got to take half a thread off of this one just to make some clearance for the head of the bolt. I'll show you what I was doing there with the file. that got it. Let's run it on here real quick to clean it up. Oh, one thing I hate about corded drills is there's no variable speed whatsoever to them. But anyway. I think I'm going to call that good. If you look down in there, maybe. You can just barely see the tip of the screw. So we're going to call that good for now on that one. And that's pretty solid as it is. But go ahead and get the other one cut and sanded down, and I'll show you the finished project. Alrighty. Let me readjust the camera real quick. Forgot to do that. This is what you have for a finished product. This is an old mount. I've messed with it. Had to get cut some new slots in it for a different setup. But you can see there's virtually no flex in it at all. I haven't put any Loctite on there, which I suggest you do that. There's plenty of clearance in there as far as for the screws. Basically, when you get done with all this, what you want to do is you want to spray it out real good, clean it out real good, either with an air hose or with gun scrubber. I love this stuff. It's amazing. Anyway, when you get done with that, just oil it up and get to work on the handle next, which is oodles of fun, let me tell you. Mine is actually going to be kind of a special project. Basically, I was trying to do a bent bolt handle, and I ended up cutting a hole too big, and it screwed up, and the handle didn't work. So, got to find the body of that, and I'll get back to you on that. So, see you next time.